a simple way that you can tell whether or not your tomatoes are getting enough water. And no, I'm not really talking about the signs and symptoms of under or overwatering, although we do have some of that further down in the article that we hope will help. And you can see that I do have some signs here that indicate that there were some water issues with this plant, and I see in my nicer, greener, flatter foliage that we're overcoming that issue. I do believe that my issue was that because this is a raised bed, that this was probably draining faster than what I'm used to in my garden. I don't usually grow my tomatoes in raised beds, but I am this year. And that's probably the cause of this leaf curl. It goes back to earlier on in the season, but again, it looks like we're overcoming this. So that aside from the physical symptoms, how can you tell if your tomatoes are getting enough water? So physical symptoms are not always the best to rely on, and they're especially not the best to rely on if that's your only indication. And the reason for that is that a lot of the symptoms, they can go both ways. You know, leaf curl can be both a sign of watering and a sign of overwatering. So how do you know? Well, one is to look at the soil. You know, if you've got leaf curl and your soil is moist, then maybe you're overwatered. If you've got leaf curl and it's dry, or you know it's been dry, then it's probably underwatering. But again, back to our easy hack, it's kind of twofold. The first is to get yourself a good rain gauge. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be fancy. It should be set somewhere out in the open so that it's not catching drips or collected runoff from, say, where eaves come together, or you know, drainage or anything like that, and also not under the drip line of your plant, because that additional dripping and the dripping that goes on after a rainstorm can actually kind of throw off and give you an inaccurate reading. But another great thing to do, and this is great because it works for not just natural water but the actual water that you're applying, is to just sink an empty can in the ground. So this is a can left over from my cat food. It is 1 inch deep, and tomatoes want about 1 inch of water a week. It's straight-sided, so I know that 1 inch is 1 inch. So the easy thing is that I can keep coming out and checking this. If I'm watering my tomatoes, which I would generally do with a soaker hose, I would lay the soaker hose over the top of this so that that drips in it. And you know, then I can come in and I can see when that's full, and then I can use that in tandem with the rain that we're getting to know whether or not I need to water. If it's rained and I come down and this is full, I'm not going to give this tomato any more water for several days. You know, the inch is a measurement of, say, tomatoes need about 1 inch of water a week. So it's a matter of kind of keeping an eye, gauging, knowing when that's full up. If it's only half full, then I know that I need another 1/2 inch of water, and then I don't necessarily need to empty that before I water. I could, and then just stop watering when this can is half full, but even easier would be to leave the rainwater in it, water, and then when this is full, then stop. So very simple hack, you know, figuring out how much water things need, what that even means, all of that. It can be a little tricky, but there's easy ways to do it. It doesn't have to consume all your time, and you can keep your plants nice and happy and healthy. I hope this helps, and I hope you have a great day gardening.